Hey you, welcome to The Mess and the Magic. I'm Casey, confidence coach, alignment alchemist, and your host slash hype woman for the real, raw, soul-stretching conversations you didn't know you needed. This podcast is for passionate dreamers doing the inner work and building a big life. The ones navigating healing, leadership, relationships, self-trust, visibility, success, and all the beautiful chaos in between. Here, we talk about the mess, the identity shifts, the breakdowns, the moments that didn't make it to Instagram. And we honor the magic, the breakthroughs, the clarity, the becoming. Because it's never just one or the other. It's always both. So if you're tired of pretending it's all perfect, and you're ready for truth, depth, and the kind of conversations that leave you feeling seen, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Mess and the Magic podcast. I am your host, Casey Jade. And today I have an amazing friend who lives in Nashville, and I was just out there and I missed her, but I'm so excited to get to see her. She lives literally at the intersection of purpose, process, and deep-hearted connection. Lisa Condon, or as she calls herself, The Spark, is a business strategist, international bestselling author, and founder of the Gratitude Program. With decades of leadership experience and certifications ranging from 6 Sigma Black Belt to Scrum Master, she guides people to live aligned, values-driven lives and businesses. On her Instagram, Lisa's known for values-driven conversations that spark transformation and reminding us all that your mindset shapes everything. Lisa's own season of mess in her late 20s, a time that shaped her deeply, led to powerful magic, stepping into her full authenticity and finding Nate her life partner. From that vital transformation, she emerged with a renewed commitment to guiding others towards their purpose through gratitude practices and intentional strategy. In this episode, we're going to dive into topics like identity shifts, navigating the messy middle, living from values, not pressure, and the radical clarity that gratitude brings. Get ready for a conversation that is heartfelt as it is strategic, as inspiring as it is actionable. Let's spark into it. Hey, Lisa.
Casey, I love you so much. Thank you for that. And I cannot wait to talk to you. And I'm so happy to see you.
Welcome. We met through a women's networking group that has national chapters and international chapters. And we live on different sides of the country, but our energy immediately was like same sees same, fire sees fire. It was so much fun. Every time I'm with Lisa, I always have an absolute blast. So I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah, Casey, I remember, and actually you weren't even part of the organization. You were there doing photography and I remember seeing you and I'm like, oh, we know each other. Like like you said, the fire energy was just there. So, and here we are. And I think I'm seeing you in a few more months, which, it'll be like across the crowded room running. Yay. So yeah, I'm thrilled.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be like one of those slow motion moments. I'll try to have a tripod ready so we can capture it for everybody.
I love that. It's fantastic.
So you call yourself the Spark. Tell us a little bit about what that means to you and how that's shown up in your life to give us a little bit of background about Lisa.
Yeah, absolutely. So funny enough, the spark actually showed up for me when I was trying to figure out a different word for coach. And I'm like, okay, what am I really doing? And funny enough, you brought up fire, and I am a Leo and I am a fire sign through and through. And I had a really good friend of mine one day say to me, and she's known me a very long time, she said, you are the spark that really sets forth everything else. And whether it's thought processes or innovation or development or even just conversation. And as soon as she said that, that resonated with me really, really deeply. But it has turned into something so much more than that, Casey, because I think through the work that I do with people, whether it's through gratitude work or strategic development and planning, what I thrive on is asking the question and then letting the magic happen itself. And I think through the question and listening and the energy that just promotes itself, that's the actual spark because everything just kind of builds and glows and the fire starts from there.
Intentional questions. lead us to all the understanding that we already have inside ourselves. It's
Hmm.
like nobody really wants us to tell them exactly what to do. They want to figure it out themselves. They just don't understand how to get themselves there. So, the powerful questions are the absolute portal to deeper connection, transformation, expansion, all of it.
Yeah, I agree. The thing about intentionality too is those intentional questions I think are so different for each person, right? Because essentially you have to help them clear the cobwebs for themselves because we've had so many layers over the years of all the things we should do, should be, have to be, climb this ladder, have this title, do all the things. You've got to help people shed that stuff. And,
Mhm.
depending on what people have been through, those layers have been built up and built up and built up over the years. So, but I think you're 100% spot on. Just that one intentional question can be that thread that you pull. And all of a sudden, it's like, what's that? If you destroy my sweater, hold my string as you walk away, or whatever that is, right? But that's what
If
it
you
is,
want
right?
to destroy my sweater, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yes.
Love it.
Weezer.
Weezer, seen him 3 times, man.
They're so good live. Oh, what's your favorite show that you've ever been to as like a little digression? What's your favorite live show? I know that you and I are both super into music.
Favorite live show. You're gonna do that to me.
Like the experience, the venue, the how the band sounded, maybe the friends you met. Like what was the best?
I have two, and it's for totally different reasons. Lady Gaga was incredible just because the people watching there was unreal. However, I got to see Sting in a very small, intimate venue, and I was front row. And to be front row in Sting, and it's mesmerizing, just absolutely mesmerizing. But I mean, I've seen literally over 1,000 shows, so I don't even know. I love them all for different reasons. But yeah,
I always
yours?
say when
Okay.
people like, and I can't hear, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I've been to too many concerts. What was that?
So who's yours? You can't ask me without
Absolutely,
telling,
girl. I am reciprocating all over the place. I got you. You know who Tool is.
of course.
You know Pussifer?
Yes.
So, for those who don't know, Maynard James Keenan, lead singer of Tool, has two other bands, A Perfect Circle and Pussifer. So, Pussifer had a show in LA and it was a one-time show and it was their album release for an album that's going to come out next year. And I was front row and this was literally Monday. And Maynard is notoriously in the back, in the shadow, out of the spotlight, can't really ever see him. And I was so close to him and Karina Round and everybody else in the band. It was such a beautiful, intimate experience. And it was all new music
Oh,
and their new theme, their new costumes or, affectation.
mm-hmm.
So cool. Like, I cannot wait. They're making a whole DVD out of it. I might be in the line. I might be in the front row. We don't know. We'll have to see.
That's
Keep an eye out.
amazing, Casey.
But
That's
that was
awesome.
amazing, and then, one of my good friends, he used to have or he actually still has a website, but he moved away from Vegas, so he has a website that does concert reviews and album reviews, and he used to be able to get concert tickets for him to go to write about it and me to go to photograph. So there have been a ton of concerts that I've been able to be the closest person there, up by the stage for the first 3 songs to shoot, and I think those are some of my favorite memories because I've gotten to nearly touch some of my most favorite people in the whole world, including Fred Durst.
I love that for you. I think that's amazing. See, I've gotten to front row like when I was younger and I would go to concerts. I was that chick that, would be on people's shoulders because I was tiny and they could just throw me up there. So any live music I loved going to. So I've seen a lot of concerts in that way, but not up front and personal with
Meaning,
the camera.
I have never really been front row before other than photographing. So, one of my best friends, Chris, he's Mr. Front Row Man, gets all the posters, does all the VIP stuff. So, he's like Mr. Front Row Center guy. So, on Monday, he was like, go up to the rail. I'm going to get the merch. You just get us a spot. I'm like, I'm in. Let's go. So, that was my first whole concert I got to see from the upfront, which was really freaking cool. I mean, usually I'm in and or around the mosh pit area. So, I'm at
Yes.
least sort of close, but I'm never really like up front, especially in harder rock shows, because usually you get pushed onto the actual bar and that may not be conducive to your health. So,
Little bit, little bit. Yeah. I have found as I've gotten older, Because I appreciate the music, which is why I love going to see live music and the way that it makes me feel.
Mm,
And so I find myself more and more either A, kind of stepping back and wanting to see the whole stage and everything, or I go bougie and do the VIP
hmm.
experience. And like I did that for Cyndi Lauper. I went to Phoenix, Arizona and was in the underground bar before we got walked out to our seats. And I mean, that was, yeah, that was a really good friend of mine purchased it was tickets for my 50th birthday, and we did that, and
Woo!
that was pretty phenomenal. But yeah, it's but the experience, it's all about the
Hmm.
feeling and the experience for me, all of it.
I got to go to Sasanta, which was Pussifer Primus and a perfect circle. And I think probably as little as a few years ago, I was caught saying, I'll never get a seat at a concert. I'll always be down here and in it and feeling it. Girl, I had a seat to that show and I was so happy I had a seat. I was just chilling the whole time. I had a bar I could put my feet up on. I
See?
had amazing, it
Exactly.
was so good. So I now am in my era where a chair sounds nice for certain shows.
Right, exactly, and that's the thing, like,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to see Chris Isaac tonight, and
Oh,
can't wait. That'll be fun. Yeah,
that's gonna be amazing. Oh my God, Wicked Game. I got to hear Corey Taylor, who's the lead singer of Slipknot. He did a solo act at a little rock club in Vegas many moons ago, and I got to be really close to him for that too. And he did Wicked Game, and I probably almost fainted 3 times. It was the sexiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
I believe that. I believe it. So, yeah, I'm thrilled that I'm going to see him tonight,
Oh,
so
so good.
should
I
be
can't
good.
wait to hear about how that goes. To button back up and get back into what we were talking about before. Do you know what your human design is? Because I am also such a deep question asker. And I think that's because I'm a 1-3 and one is the investigator of the human design. So I wonder what yours is.
So, funny enough, with human design, all I know is kind of um my name, I guess is what you call it. So
Your
I'm
type?
I'm the rare type. I'm the rare archetype. I'm the reflector.
Oh, okay. So that means that all of your centers are open. So people see in you a reflection of themselves, which is really, really cool. And that's probably why you have these huge superpowers in the field too, because you're able to reflect back these people's experiences and traumas and beliefs and help them shift.
Which makes sense, and it's funny, I human design is something I have interest in, and it comes up, I'm gonna say on the daily these days, Casey, but when I learned that I was a reflector and that I think only 1% of the population are actually reflectors, I'm like, "Well, that makes sense." Like, just add it on to the layers, but what you're saying actually rings true. I've never heard anybody describe it that way, but that's absolutely true in the work that I do. So, and what are you? You're 1-3.
I'm a 1-3. So there's 6 numbers that coincide with your profile
Okay.
or your type. I'm a generator and I'm a 1-3 generator. So in that, that's the investigative martyr. So the question asker, the intention seeker, clarity, like curious. And then the 3 is I trial and error through life. So I have to bump into things to see if they fit. And that's how I figure out my life and what's good for me and what's not for me.
I love that. How
If you
fun,
shoot me
though.
your birth stuff later, I will do your whole thing and I'll give you some stuff.
Okay, I will do that.
Woo!
Yay. Thanks.
So I mean, as a reflector, that's huge in the coaching and mentoring space. I feel like they are a lot of healers, they're way showers. And so I feel like you really fit into that so well. How did you find that that was one of your superpowers and that's what you wanted to do in life? Because I know this isn't what you've been doing forever.
It's not. I've had my company for 18 years, which is I can't even believe that it's been 18 years. And I think I've always naturally coached people. It's just been something inherent in me. I just didn't even know that it was a thing. So, I grew up professionally in the corporate world, I like to say, and yeah, and learned so many things, good, bad, and indifferent, right? And I think what happened was there was something that happened specifically that made me feel really out of alignment, but I didn't know what that meant. It just was a gut instinct like, ew, this isn't where I want to be anymore. And, I started my business and I leaned into just a lot of what I knew, which was strategy and business development. And what I realized was I was bringing in a lot of intuitiveness and just a natural experience and other gifts that I have been given to actually help do this work. And I also firmly believe that we show up as who we are in everything that we do. And especially during this time, there was this notion of, well, you have to be one persona at work and you have to be another persona at home. And I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it then. I don't buy it now. And so I helped people to really start, right? Leaning into that. And I think it just naturally evolved. And then I realized, oh, wait a second, there's this whole coaching thing that happens. Um, cool. And then the word coach, I think gets overutilized truly. So,
Well, it's
for
been
me,
watered down, like it's been
yeah,
trivialized because everybody's some sort of a coach. And that's something I've been struggling with as well. So when you said that you were trying to find another word for coach and you found the spark, I was like, I feel that.
yeah. And you know what? At the end of the day, I went back to just saying the word coach in some
Because
respects.
it's what it is. And
People
there's so
know
many
it.
other ways, right? Exactly. People
Mhm.
know exactly what that means. You're here to hold their hand through something. You're here to hold them accountable and shine the light on them and help them shift into something better.
Exactly, exactly. So, you might often hear me say I'm a business consultant and life strategist. I talk about that, but I don't have to help define the word coach. People know what that is. And I think we all bring our own flavor of life and experience and lens to the table. And so, you know what? If 5,000 people want to call themselves a coach, cool. Guess what? You have 5,000 options then of who to choose and who you align with and who you feel the connection with to work with. I think
Mhm.
that's great.
The same thing happens with hamburger restaurants, right? You could get a hamburger at so many places in town, but they still all are in business. So it's
Hmm.
whatever flavor profile that they like. That gives me a little bit more backbone when I think about the sea of coaches or when I was really focusing on photography, the sea of photographers and what that looked
Hmm.
like. But in that business, I was never unable to outdo my shine. You can't help but be yourself. So everybody who's drawn to you is drawn to you and they'll want to work with you in whatever you're doing. So I think that it is just putting your natural flavor and spin on it and then just seeing where that takes you. And I love that.
Absolutely, and by the way, I'm champagne, baby. I'm no hamburger. I am champagne over here.
But champagne only comes from one place.
Well, that's
I
true.
mean, but I
Although
do
the
love, hey,
Arctic is
we'll work on the
varietal.
analogy. Yeah, we'll work on it. We're workshopping it. We're
Yes,
brainstorming and
exactly.
masterminding it.
Fine, fine.
Well, I know one of the things that you talk about a lot are the 9 steps of gratitude. Can you talk a
Yeah,
little bit about that and how you came to the 9 steps?
absolutely. Years and years and years ago, a friend of mine started posting about their 3 things they're grateful for on Facebook, and I asked her if I could really copy it and emulate that, and I did. And that started growing into something more for myself, and it changed me and how I felt and how I approached life and my day. And then my conversations with people started changing. And I always knew it's funny, I don't like the word manifesting. However, it's a very, very real thing. And
What don't you like about the word? Just real quick, because I'm fascinated.
I think it's overused and
Just another one of just like watered down.
just watered down. Yeah. And
Got it.
so, but I believe deeply in the power of it. Right. And so I had the word gratitude written down and it's like, what am I going to do with this? And I do that all the time. I've got my list of stuff of just it's just going to percolate, it's going to sit there. And one day I got this download and I walked into our music room and in 10 minutes I had 9 steps of gratitude that were written down. And ultimately what that has turned into is no matter what we're going through in life or business, you're always in one of the 9 steps. And in fact, you can have 12 things going on and be within one of the 9 steps of gratitude, and they all can be in different places. So it's really about this cycle of life or business and what happens during that time. So, and it's it's very easy. The 9 steps are, ground, reflect, accept, thank, ignite, transform, uncover, decide, and emerge. And so you're in one of those 9 steps all of the
Wait, is
time.
that the acronym? Is it gratitude is the acronym and there's 9?
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. I love me an acronym
Yeah.
and mnemonic device to help remember.
Absolutely. Well, and I didn't even know that that was the download. When I wrote it down, I mean, I go into almost translated state
Yeah.
when I have these downloads, and I was like, "Oh, look at this!" And here we are. But but it's powerful because it literally impacts everything that I do. And when I'm starting to work with somebody, I identify where they're at in their cycle of gratitude,
Hmm.
because once you get through it, it doesn't stop. It just kind of starts over again into the next phase. And usually it's a deeper layer.
Is it linear? Like, do you go through the steps in the same order? So when you figure out where they are, you can help lead them through the rest of it? Or is it kind of like they ping around?
No, it's pretty linear when things happen because they are all kind of dependent on the outcome of that first step, that prior step, I should say. So I think it's very linear because when you emerge, like, think about it. Let's start at the end. When you emerge into this next space of who you are because of what you've learned, what you've experienced, and, name the what ifs, then you're going to ground yourself in that. So you kind of start back at the beginning. And so when you're grounded in the now and the space that you're in, then you really reflect on all of the things that have happened that brought you there. And
Mm,
then you have to find a way to accept that and kind of integrate that into your life, right? And then you can start moving into more of the actionable stuff, which is the celebrating and the thanking, and it ignites new things for yourself. And then typically what happens is as you are changing, people don't like it when their friends change, right? Or other stuff comes up as you're shedding all of those layers we talked about before. So you uncover some stuff and then you have to decide what to do with it. And then after you decide what to do with it, you emerge into that next version of yourself or that next version of your business and it starts over.
mm,
So it sounds very topical, but it's actually pretty transformative. And I also would say, Casey, another way that I describe it is you have kind of two overarching phases, right? You have your growth phase, and when you're growing, if you think of a tree, your roots grow down and deep, and your leaves and your branches grow up and wide. And then you hit, people think it's a plateau. I actually think it's the integration phase. So, all this stuff you learned when you were growing upward and downward, you now have to figure out how to integrate that into your current life.
mm,
Then, when you're ready
mm,
to grow again, you're kind of at a different level and you start growing again. And then you have to integrate all of that. So it's all a learning process, right? I mean, as
mm,
humans, we have this wonderful opportunity to just continue to be curious and continue to become more and more and more of ourselves.
mm. That's so beautiful. And when you say emerge and then there's two phases as well, I immediately think of a butterfly
Hmm. Yeah.
and us in the cocoon struggling and going through and growing and expanding and evolving and then coming out as this beautiful butterfly and
Hmm.
then kind of starting that process over again because we're never done. And that's the most beautiful thing about life is figuring out what else we want to look at, what else we want to be curious about, what else we get to learn.
I agree. And it's funny when I speak, when I use slides, the emerge symbol is the butterfly, like hands
Hey,
down for sure. But I also remind people that even the cocoon and the chrysalis is just as beautiful as the butterfly because that's
absolutely.
where just that goosebumps. That's where that learning is and that deep connection with self comes in too.
Without that, we wouldn't have all of the beautiful perspective and learnings and higher ability to think and see outside of ourselves.
Mm, yes, yes.
Having that process of gratitude in those 9 areas and actual states, I feel
Hmm.
like that's so then easy for people to understand. You went in and you were like, "What am I gonna channel right now?" And it just came through. I've had
Hmm.
so many beautiful moments of clarity after breath work or meditation, and it's when we can get still with ourselves and be comfortable in the silence, which takes everybody different amounts of times to be able to sit. But that's when the most powerful voice is able to get louder.
Mm. Casey, this is why we're so soul connected. I could not agree with you more. And the quiet is probably my loudest moments. Yeah. And most profound. And it's yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. And I'm grateful for, like, so grateful that,
So grateful.
and I think everybody has the opportunity to tap into that for themselves. And you don't need training on how to do that. It's just getting quiet.
and breathing, the 2 things that you just have to have your body and your breath.
Mhm.
So, since we're already getting a little emotional,
Mhm.
take us through some of the things that really shaped your 20s, because I know you said that that was one of the messiest eras, and I wanna dig deep into what you let go, what you experienced, what you grew through.
Whew, yeah. Let's see. A lot, a lot. So, in my 20s, I left a really promising upward career in the corporate world, which for me and how I grew up climbing the ladder was a really big thing, and especially as a woman. And I was the first person in my family to have graduated from college. So there was
Me
a
too.
lot tied to that. Yeah, see? Yay,
Twins, twins.
twinsy. So there was that. I also got married and got divorced in my 20s. And there was a lot tied to that. And making the decision to actually get the divorce went against everything again that I kind of grew up with, and at the same time, feeling in some ways like I failed and that I let my parents down, all of that. Also, my mother passed away when I was in my 20s, and that was really unexpected. It was from symptom to death, 5 weeks, so very, very quickly. So all of that was going on, and so when you think about all of this really has to do with loss, even though it's not just loss of life, it's loss of self and loss of direction, because here I was, this great career, doing all these great things, hopping planes, going home, seeing my family, and I was like the one that would just swoop in for the weekend because here she was, had moved away, to somebody who I had a lot of anxiety, had a lot of depression going on during that time. And a lot of it's just because I didn't know who I was at the core. I had let society and expectations and the shoulds dictate
Shoulding
my
all
direction
over yourself, right?
all over myself. And I didn't even know I was doing it. Had no idea what was happening.
Because we're just
And
in it. We're in the expectations of everyone else and what the
totally.
titles that we hold are.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. And when I started just letting go of some of that and started living more and more and more into alignment, that's when the puzzle pieces just started fitting and going together. So, yeah, and it was not a good time in my 20s. Now, it wasn't all horrible, don't get me wrong, but I think that floundering of figuring out who I was and who should be in my life, who shouldn't be in my life, friendships, professional relationships and otherwise. And I was in a place that I wasn't real familiar to me because with the corporate world, I had been transferred around quite a bit. So I was in a place where there was me and me finding people that I wanted to spend time with, and that was it.
So what did that process of, like, unlearning, relearning, death, rebirth, so much, like, what did that look like for you? Like, what was the hardest part of moving through that season?
Continuing to stay true to who I am and being okay with losing what I thought were solid relationships. And because that loss can go deep, really deep. But I think you find that people, again, it goes back to people typically don't like it when you change, because when you're in a relationship with somebody, and I'm not talking intimate, just a friendship with somebody, and they like you for who you are in that moment and how you make them feel and what you do for them, because we are all human. We all have egocentric tendencies at times. And so when you begin to change and you show up differently, there's fear that happens. And sometimes you can't get beyond that. So, I definitely lost some friendships during that time. And I grieved those. And, but at the same time, staying true to who I was became increasingly more important to me, because when I would acquiesce, I would go down that spiral of anxiety again, or depression, or not being able to sleep, or just these almost manic type things that would happen. And the more I stayed away from that, and the more I just stepped into who I was. And then it's one day you wake up and you just don't even look back. I mean, I have zero regrets in my life. I don't believe in
Mhm.
regret. I think it's all learning opportunities.
Mhm.
So, but you go back to breathing, and, to this day, things happen, and
Mhm.
you have to sit with it, and you have to just kind of ask yourself the questions and get real with yourself and breathe through it and move back to that alignment. It's why we have alignment tools that are out there to
Mhm.
help us.
I came from a very reactive mom, and I know she was just operating out of whatever she knew and the best that she could. And I saw her go from 0 to 1,000 my
Mhm.
whole life. So one of the biggest hurdles in my early self-development career was really coming from, is this worth the emotional response that I feel coming up in my body right now, and how heavy it would make me feel?
Mm,
And I would have to figure out what I was actually feeling, where it was coming from, and take a second to step back and breathe and just take a step back from the reaction. And there are still things that make me and my body feel like I need to react. So there's still that constant conversation going on, but now there's such a beautiful delay for me to be able to breathe in between.
I love that for you. And that's beautiful. And I'm so glad you found that space. Had the beautiful opportunity to learn feelings. I had some sexual trauma when I was a child. And so I kind of stopped feeling at probably the age of around 5 or 6. And so I really could only identify things like, hate, angry, really those just topical feelings that we all feel. And I couldn't really identify them. And to this day, I still have some issues with identifying that. So I had that extra added bonus of, okay, now I'm getting quiet with myself. What do I
Mm.
feel? Well, I don't know what I feel. So I had to start looking up what are actual feelings? Like, what am I feeling right now? And that was eye opening too. And learning that about myself. And that was all in my 20s as well.
Where did you find the answers to help define the emotions that were feeling in your body?
So it's funny you asked that. So I started looking in Webster's, right? Like dictionary, just Google our friend. And I'm like, none of this resonates with me. It's really
Mm.
not resonating. And so I kind of leaned more into the spiritual side of things and more into, um, I'm a Reiki master. So leaning into just that healing work and some of the ways that they define feelings resonated with me differently than how Google defines them. And I don't I also don't describe feelings, I think, in the same way as most normal people either. I
Well,
usually
there is no
identify them.
normal ever, right?
Fair. No, that's
Everything is
fair.
so relative and subjective, and we are all in our complete individual experiences, and
You
that's
know
all
what? I
beautiful.
appreciate that redirect because you're absolutely right. And I define a lot of my feelings with colors because
Ooh,
that's
I
the way
love
that it
that.
identifies for me. Yeah. And it helped me. It has helped me so much. So I know if I'm a certain color and I know what that color feels like for me.
What
Mhm.
color are you right now?
I'm green.
What does that mean to you?
So I am completely content. I'm really feeling connected right now, and I'm feeling completely myself. Yeah,
Green light,
I
go.
know. It makes me so happy.
I love the color spectrum for emotion. That's beautiful.
Thank you. I had to for me. So, yeah.
So I know you went into the spiritual and the healing and the energy work. Were there any other modalities or tools or books or mentors that you found along your way that really helped you in that process of being true to yourself?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many mentors. I've had mentors in the business space. I've had mentors in the spiritual space, my Reiki master Jackie. I feel like everybody I meet that I have a deeper connection with, like you, Casey. In my mind, I've learned things from you, through our conversations and just the ways of thinking, or, just how you redirected me a second ago. Like that stuff's important to me. And I feel that and I take all of that in. But I feel like everybody has the opportunity to be a mentor, for me. But people like this is going to crack you up. So I don't even wanna say it. But, like, Madonna was
Mhm.
actually a really big influence for me because if you read her biography from when she was very young, and she just leaned into her authenticity. Now, some people, have their journey and they do their thing, but I remember reading that and how it impacted me. Simon Sinek is an amazing speaker, but I think for me, it's the people that I know and the people who I come in contact with where I can have deep conversations. Those are the people that inspire me. Those are the
Mm.
people who we are ideating together and vibrating in a way that is energy changing and energy shifting. So calling in specific people out, I think we'd be here all day long.
Right? You just have the list, like, when you win a Grammy and you're like, "I would like to thank," but I really
Well, I've got
I
that list
resonate.
right here.
You're like, "Shh, shh." I resonate so much with how you said about having those deep conversations because I feel like when you're comfortable speaking with someone and you feel like they're really able to hold up the mirror and be
Mhm,
with you in what you're feeling and seeing and experiencing, it's when you can see things from a very similar but maybe slightly different perspective that opens a new door. And I love that energy. And that's honestly why I started this podcast
mm,
because I was having so many of those conversations with my friends, like that last conversation we had. And I was
mhm.
like, I'm so sad we did not record this whole thing
Yes. Yeah.
because it's so great.
Well, it's so great. And I think those inspire other people to step out of their fear and into that vulnerability to
Mhm.
have those conversations. And once you have that first one, then you're more apt to have the second one and the third one. And man, it really is life changing. I don't do topical conversations. No, I'm not your weather friend. I just won't do it. And if that's the type of relationship you want, I'm not your girl. Like, I'm just
Well,
not
and
it.
talking about that, you outgrew a lot of people and the relationships shifted. How did you come to find more people that you resonated with now that you shifted?
Yeah, well, I believe in the law of attraction pretty deeply. And so I think when you put yourself out there and you are just not only authentic, but you are vulnerably authentic, people, the right people just get introduced to you. And I believe the universe gives you exactly what you need and who you need at the right time. And I pay attention to that. So if I feel that spark, with somebody, I will have that conversation. I'm just not afraid of it at all. Moving to a new place in Nashville. I knew nobody. Nate and I just upped and moved. That we just decided to come here. So I'm building new community around me. Well, I can tell you, I will know who my people are and who they aren't. I can feel it. And I was sitting, so we live in this neighborhood that I call a cross between Hallmark and Stepford Wives. And so we can we can walk to all kinds of different places, and one of the places we can walk to is this little pub that we enjoy going to, and we're sitting there and I'm listening to a conversation that's happening at the bar. So we're at a table and it's this woman sitting at the bar, and I already had noticed her when we walked in, and then two of the people working there. Well, don't they start? I hear them start talking about tarot cards, and I hear them start talking about just different things. And so I looked at Nate. He goes, "You're going to go talk to them, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, I am."
Yes, I
And
am.
he was
Thank you
like,
for knowing me.
"Great, yeah." So I got up and I went over. Well, what's funny is I don't know that any of them actually know my name, but they call me Red because of my hair. And they're like, "Oh, are you gonna do a reading today?" Like, it just cracks me up. But these are people that I get. And living in this area, it's a different type of geography. So,
Mm.
you have to still figure out what's not acceptable, but what people will what's
Be
underground and what's
comfortable
not.
with?
Be
Right.
comfortable with might be the right word. But again, I'm always gonna be me, so yeah, here I am.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, circling back really quickly to just moving somewhere
Mhm,
completely new. I have
mhm.
lived in Vegas since I was 5.
Mm,
So that idea just seems so scary to me. And we talked about fear earlier, right? And that holding people
mhm.
back from kind of living their truest lives. But my lease is up in February and I'm planning on kind of doing more like a little digital nomad kind of thing and going to live different places for a few months. So Can you talk to me a little bit about your experience moving someplace new, not knowing anybody, and why you chose that? And
So I've moved a lot. So we'll have to talk offline and I can tell you all the things. I I love change and I love moving and I enjoy going somewhere, getting involved in the community, being part of the community, helping cultivate whatever change is needed and whether the change is within me or whether the change is within the people that I meet,
Mm,
and then I know when it's done. And then I move
oh,
on. And
I
it's
love
yeah.
that.
Now, I can tell you when we moved from Vermont to Delaware, we stayed in Delaware longer than we should have. And I knew it and I felt it. And, part of it might have been COVID. Part of it might have been because we moved from one house and then designed and built a house on the beach, which was something I had always wanted to do from being a little kid. And then I
Yes.
realized it's not what I wanted, but I do think that,
Isn't that interesting? We think about things since we're literally little, and then
yeah.
we
Oh,
finally
yeah.
get to have them, and they were like, maybe that's not what I wanted.
Well, here's what's funny. So where I grew up, Casey, seriously, I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And what you were kind of taught there was, okay, you grow up, you get married, you have babies, and oh, by the way, you have a job and you're kind of climbing the ladder, but you have babies, then you get a
Should,
bigger
should,
house,
should, should, should,
all of
should,
that, right?
should,
And
should.
then you retire, and then you retire to the beach, and then you
Right.
die. So there was, and I love the beach. I'm a mermaid at my deepest core, I'm a mermaid. However, Delaware
Got my
beaches were
mermaid
not.
right here.
Yeah, you
I was like, yep, I
see?
got my, yep,
I
got my
love
little mermaid.
in green, of course. Love. Oh my God, that's beautiful. I didn't know you had that. See, again, you're my siren. I love it. Um, but Delaware wasn't my beach. Jersey was my beach. So even being in Delaware felt very weird, right? So anyway, so you build this, and I'm like, okay, well, this was not my end. And for many people where I grew up, living at the beach was their end game. And I'm like, this is just like one of my pit stops, right? Like one of my beginnings for the next. So when you move and so I will also tell you, doing the digital nomad thing, it's very fun to do that and travel light. Like that's the big thing that I will tell you. Travel light. And,
Definitely.
and also I think it also depends too. I never thought I needed a home base, and
Hmm.
I still don't think that I do necessarily. I We travel all the time and I love it, but there is something about coming back to the things that bring you comfort and love and joy. For me it's like my books and my journals and just and obviously my pets, but it's that location, but my home is where Nate and my animals are. So I don't care
Hmm.
where that is, but that's my home. Like that's my solar system. Yeah.
I love
But I
that.
hope Nashville's on your list. I'm just saying.
Girl, I am coming back there. It was so much fun. Everybody was so sweet. Everywhere we went was so interesting. You stay off of like the main drag in Nashville when you live there, just like you do the strip in Las Vegas. And I
Yeah.
understand that. And as a local Las Vegan, it's interesting because going down there, I was like, okay, it's Nash Vegas. It's going to be very same. And in some ways that it was. And also, like, number one, everyone has a roof bar, which I love being outside. So thank you for that,
Yeah.
Nashville, especially because in the beautiful times, it was very humid and hot when I went. So I'm going back in better temperate climate. But all the buildings, they have 4 or 5 floors of very different
Yes.
happenings. There was one bar that I went to that the basement had a little dueling piano thing. One of the bars we went to, Kid Rock's bar on the 3rd or 4th floor, had a rock cover band. There
Mhm.
was a bunch of country and honky tonk, obviously, but there was just so many different types of atmospheres and people and places and experiences all on this one street, even
Mhm.
within one building. And I thought that was so fun. And I loved all of the things that were off Broadway. Printer's Alley has so much
Mhm.
personality and was just quieter and slower and more my speed. And it was, yeah, I love that city. And it was definitely the first time I went, but it will not be the last for sure.
I love that. And I agree with you. Anytime I tell people that we moved to Nashville, they're like, "Oh, you must really love country music." And actually the answer is no. I love good music. And you can find good music from a stone's throw away, no matter where you go in
No
Nashville.
matter where you
Some of the
go.
genre might happen to be country, but it literally has everything. I mean, Snoop just opened up a place, and also Post Malone just opened up a place.
I love Posty. I have the same birthday as Snoop Dogg and Tom Petty, so they're my birthday twins.
There you
But no,
go.
I
See,
love
and we
Posty.
just love it. We just saw, what's his name? It was Tom Petty's lead guitarist. I can't think of his name now. We just saw him in concert. It doesn't matter, but, the Dirty Knobs, it's Dirty Knobs and
Mhm.
blah, whatever blah is, I can't think of his name, but so good. Sounds like Tom Petty. But you're exactly right, but that's what I love, and that's what I love about when you're looking, even traveling, going to places that bring different energy and
Mm,
different vibes. It actually taps into you differently and pulls out different things from you. That's one of the reasons I love hopping around so much, because I find different things that are within me that I didn't
mm.
even know existed.
That is a fabulous point. I was just in Sedona over the weekend attending and shooting my friend's fabulous wedding. And then I immediately came home, got a few hours of sleep, and drove to downtown LA to go see that Pussifer show. And the energy in those places was wildly different.
Mhm.
And it was just so nice to be able to stop and feel those out and see what was calling to me, see what was deterring me. It
Mm,
was interesting. So
I love
interesting.
that. Yeah, very cool. And they couldn't be more different. Are you kidding me?
Different. So wildly, drastically different, but you know what? I had a beautiful experience in LA as well, though, so one of my biggest pillars is wherever you go, there you are, and I know that you said earlier that, like, just the art of, attraction and the law of attraction, I am always gonna be my most authentic self and my goofiest extension of that, so wherever I go, I try to have a blast, I try to have 0 expectation, and just be so grateful to be where I am with who I'm with and experiencing what I'm experiencing. And
Mm,
I think that that goes a long way. And also in being able to really discern what places call to you and which don't.
yeah. 1,000%. Funny enough, it's one of the reasons I never thought I'd be a cruise person, because I
Mm,
just why, but it actually is one of the reasons why I like cruises, and I haven't been on a lot, but you stop at these different places and basically it gives you a little taste, and if you want to go back or not. When we did a Panama Canal cruise, and I always thought I would want to go to Colombia. We stopped there, and I remember looking at Nate, I'm like, I will never come back here. Like, it just isn't my energy. But Panama, I'd go back in a heartbeat, and I would have
hmm
never in a million years guessed that, never. But I
Yep.
think you're right. It's that energetic connection of who you are and who you are at that moment too, right? Because we continue to evolve and grow and emerge. So, who knows? Maybe I'd go back to Colombia tomorrow and like it. Maybe.
Yeah, you never know. Places shift and change and grow. And the only thing that is constant in life is change, right? And that's with places, people, energies, everything.
Everything. Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to be mindful of your beautiful time and day, but I do want to ask you a couple of questions before we wrap things up.
Okay.
Number one, what are you most excited about in the upcoming year, and how can people find you?
I am excited that I'm actually hosting my first gratitude retreat.
Oh,
And it's something that I have been wanting to do for a very long time. It's just kind of been on my radar. So I'm hosting it in West Virginia in November. Super excited. And for people to find me, it's super easy. My website is lisacondon.com. And so you can find me there, shoot me an email. I love connecting with people. So just scheduling time and connecting with me, it's what I'm all about. I love it.
I love that, and I'm super excited for your retreat. Is it in the mountains in West Virginia?
It is. It is in the mountain. Hey, I have 1 space left, Casey, just saying.
We'll talk after. I love
Yeah,
West
I'm excited.
Virginia.
It's gonna be fantastic, and the women who it's just the right mix. It's gonna be delicious. I can't wait.
Ooh, delicious. I love delicious. Well, about gratitude, what is one thing that you think people misunderstand or trivialize about gratitude?
Yeah, so the trivialization is pretty easy. I think people just think, "Oh, gratitude is really fluffy," and it's really just topical. I'm grateful for my family and, it's like Thanksgiving, right? However, gratitude is actually a verb, and you can actually live and breathe and act on gratitude in every single moment of your day. Every single action you make, there's a breath of gratitude in that. And so gratitude truly is a verb.
As you have lived into gratitude as a verb in your own life, What changes long term and short term have you seen?
I'm a kinder person to both myself and to others. I feel incredibly connected to not just other people, but to the earth, to because we're all made of energy. And so that connected energetic tissue is really it's just an integral part of my life. And I think it's really helped me step more into those other gifts that I have been given, that then I can be that conduit to really help guide and support others on their purposeful journey.
Beautifully worded. Is there a mantra that you keep coming back to again and again?
No, there's not. No, because I listen to my downloads. I just, I listen to it every day and it's
And everything changes, just like we said earlier. So, like,
Mhm.
what we need in the moment or in our season of expansion is going to shift and change.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have a lesson that you learned in life that really jumps out to you that really helps shape who you are now and what you do?
I think there are two things. I think one is understanding that other people are going to have a lot to say about a lot of things, and it's because you're holding a mirror up to them, and it's really not about you. And I think the other thing is not everybody has to be your people, and it doesn't make them bad or good. It just is.
Those are definitely things that I have resonated with and learned from in my own journey and experience.
Mhm,
And it's beautiful to have the understanding in a conversation versus feeling shame or guilt
mhm,
that when somebody is reacting emotionally, it's that you have hit something in them that didn't feel comfy and that brought up something in them.
mhm,
And instead of it being about you, it's their projection of what they're feeling about
mhm.
that situation. And that has really been one of the biggest realizations in my own life.
And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's one of I think, the beautiful things too is those realizations that you come to, they just apply. May and you can use them and understand yourself differently.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here and sharing with us all of the amazing lessons that you've learned through your mess, through your magic, and into this beautiful era of who you're blossoming and emerging to be yet again over and over. I'm super excited to see you in a few months, and I am super excited for you guys to check out the notes on the thing to figure out how to get in touch with both of us and also catching you on the next episode of The Mess and the Magic. Thank you so much for being here with us. See you later, guys.
Thank you.